How long does it take to learn a language? Every time I talk about this, I get lots and lots of comments of people who think that you need to learn a language for a lifetime, or for several years at least, to be able to have a basic conversation. Look at this one. Andrew says, I suppose it depends on what you mean by learning a language. If you mean learn to a level where you can follow and participate in all conversations, for example, you are talking several years, except when done with total immersion, immersion is a lie, when reasonable basic competence can be achieved in a few months. There is no magic formula that escapes this truth. Okay, first of all, why do you think you have the truth here? What makes you an expert in this? And sorry, but if you think you have to, if you think you need several years to be able to follow and participate in conversations, I don't know what you've been doing, but you've been wasting your time in a big way. And this kind of thinking, I'm not much into all the affirmations and all the guru stuff, the secret and positive thinking and all that. But the term limiting beliefs is something that comes to mind when you look at these people and the way they think and the way they talk, because there's no magic formula that escapes this truth. Somehow he thinks you can only get results really slowly, and he somehow thinks that's the truth. There's nothing you can do about it. He doesn't get results, or he gets poor results very slowly, and he thinks no one else can do anything else. What if I told you that there are people, actually lots of people out there, who learn to speak languages conversationally and fluently way faster than that? Because there are. I'm one of them. I know many others who get really good results because they focus on the right things. But this is the level. Um, if you mean learn to a level where you can follow and participate in conversations, for example, you're talking several years. Why? You can follow a conversation and participate pretty well if you know a lot of words, if you know the right pronunciation, at least if you know the words, all the necessary words for that specific subject. And if you know pronunciation enough that you can understand those words in when native speakers are talking, then you can follow the conversation. Yeah, so those are two skills you need to learn. Lots of words. Words are not a skill. Words are data. You need to memorize the data, right? And then you need to learn the skill of recognizing those words when you hear them. And with that, you can understand anything once you have those two things. You don't need to several years to develop those two skills, or learn that, memorize that data, and then learn that skill. And if we're talking about participating in conversations, you don't even need to be fluent to participate in conversations. Unless you're chronically shy, you can participate in conversations even if you're already, if you're not even fluent yet, but you're conversational, you know the vocab, you can more or less form sentences with some mistakes, and it takes time for you to think of the sentences, and you hesitate a little bit, okay, and your accent's not very good. Even then, you can participate in conversations, unless you're really shy, and then you have other things to work on. Yeah, but if any kind of conversation, if you have prepared the sentences, used language islands, done many thousands of reps of listening and repeating, retrieval practice, you can talk about it. And if you make a list of all the likely conversations, obviously I wouldn't be able to have a conversation about quantum physics in Russian, right? mostly because I wouldn't be able to have a conversation about quantum physics in English or any other language because I don't know anything about the topic, obviously. But if the conversation was about any of the normal things I usually talk about, I'd be able to do it easily. If the conversation was about any of the more less common but uh, less common things, but things that I still like and I'm interested in, I still be able to do it. Why? Because I've got a list and I've prepared sentences for everything, and then I've drilled them over and over again, and then now I can say all of that. So if someone asks me about my hometown, I can talk for hours. If someone asks me about the time I spent in Romania, I can talk for hours. If someone asks me about diving or fighting or traveling to this or that country, I can talk for hours. Language learning, obviously, I can talk for hours. All the usual things, all the usual things, and also the less common but likely things, or the things that I occasionally talk about, I prepare for all of them. And it's not that much. Yeah? It's a few thousand sentences that you have to learn. And then once you've rehearsed them enough, you know the structures already really well from learning from rote memorization of that many sentences. Yeah, so you know the grammar structures. So now you can use the vocabulary that you learned, and of course also you know the pronunciation, and you can say them with confidence and with good pronunciation and using and speaking in complete sentences, right, with no hesitation. But knowing the sentences and also lots of extra vocab will allow you to combine the sentences in different ways and to adapt them with the vocab, the extra vocab that you learned, and create way more sentences now using the structures that you already learned. Because if you learn to talk about liking this or that, man, you've memorized the sentences, or not liking that sort of thing. If you've got a lot of vocab, you can also talk about liking many other things or not liking them. Yeah, and the same for anything. So if you prepare for conversation, specifically with language islands, retrieval practice, where you're forcing yourself to think in the language and then you get it corrected immediately, and then you train again and again and again. If you're doing many thousands of listening and repeating reps, you can speak. It doesn't take years. You can speak out anything as long as you've done the work. Yeah.